Hello?
Excuse me.
Hello?
It is 6:30. I want to call the April the 19th, 2022 meeting of the Owen County Planning Commission to order, please. If everyone would please rise and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Suzanne, roll call, please.
Yep. Donna McIntyre, Robin Cooper, Ernie Default,
Here.
Norm Warner.
Here.
Bill Purcell,
Here.
Kenneth Sebastian,
Here.
Bob Kern,
Here.
Mike Swafford,
Here.
Amy Kingsbury.
Okay. Item number 4, approval of minutes from the March 22nd meeting. I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second that.
Second by Ernie. Bill Purcell, second by Ernie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Seven. Okay. Before we go on the new business, there's a lot of us here tonight, and we will conduct ourselves. I won't put a time limit on you. I would prefer that you be precise and concise to what you need to say. We would also like it to be new information, and we'll try to do the same from up here. If we have to impose a limit to get us out of here before midnight, we will, but we would like to just keep it open and friendly. Do address all questions to the board, not to individuals in the room. That's not right. No one came down here to get yelled at tonight. We'll have the petitioners up first, and then we'll take comments from the crowd, okay? All right, as long as we can follow that, I won't have to impose any undue restrictions on anybody. I don't want to do that. I want you guys to all be heard. Okay, new business. Mr. Hobbs, would you like to come up, sir? And state your name and
Jeremy Hobbs, proposing a subdivision located approximately across from Rolling Meadows Golf Course. I've been in the process and getting it to this final stage, and it looks like we've got everything covered. I think we've got a good plan, and we've already started to implement parts of it. It's all planted in grass now. We started clearing the brush along the property line so they can put up the silt retention fence and get started. So we're looking forward to it.
okay. Suzanne, did the final plat meet all the specifications?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I do have to read this into the record, so bear with me. Section 12.10 of the Owen County Zoning and Septic Control Ordinance. After approval of the final plat, a proposed final plat shall be filed with the Plan Commission within 2 years of the approval of the preliminary plat. We're already at that stage. Failure to file the final plat for approval within the time period will result in the preliminary plat and approval thereof being null and void. The proposed final plat may include all or a phase of the preliminary plat and shall meet the requirements set forth below. 12.10. A final plat shall include all the information and details of the preliminary plat, and in addition shall include the following: boundary lines by meets and bounds that provide a survey of the tract with dimensions and angles, existing or recorded streets that intersect the boundaries of the tracts, distance and direction to the nearest established street corners or official monuments, street names, complete curve noted for all curves, location, types of material and size of monument and lot markers, plans and specifications for the improvements required by this ordinance, restrictive covenants running with the land, Certification by a registered professional engineer or registered land surveyor that the plat adequately reflects his survey. Deed of dedication of streets and other property for public use. This provision does not require that the streets or easements must be dedicated to public use. And then certificate of improvement or completion bond. Is all that
Yes.
been turned in? Good. All right, 1212, the plat approval procedure. Certification of improvement or completion bond. Each final plat submitted to the Board of Commissioners shall be accompanied by one of the following: a certification that all improvements and their installations have been completed in accordance with the specifications set out in this chapter. On-site inspection shall be required before the Plan Commission hearing. A bond or certificate of funds in escrow or irrevocable letter of credit, ordinance 89-5, dated April the 29th, 1985, that runs to Owen County, is an amount set by the Plan Commission sufficient to complete the improvements and their installations in compliance with this chapter, and is with surety by the company licensed to do the business in the state of Indiana. Specifies a completion date for said improvements. Owen County shall have the authority to move against said bond or certificate of funds in escrow in the event said improvements and these installations have not been met by the specified completion date. Any funds received from said bond or certificate funds in escrow shall be used to complete the improvements and their installation. Release of a bond or other financial security noted above shall be approved by the Plan Commission only after thorough inspection and written reports, verifying that all improvements have been made pursuant to the plat approval submitted by the Planning Department, County Highway Superintendent, County Health Department, or other applicable public governmental agencies. 12.13, plat approval procedure action on the final plat. The department shall determine whether the final plat approval application is complete and shall promptly notify the applicant in writing of any deficiencies in the application. Have you been notified of any deficiencies in your application, sir? Okay. The Plan Commission shall approve or disapprove the final plat and make written findings to support the decision, and that's why we're here tonight. In the final plat materially deviates, if the final plat materially deviates from the approved preliminary plat, the subdivision shall be resubmitted to the Plan Commission for preliminary plat approval again. Material deviation includes, but is not limited to, increase in the number of lots, add, remove, or relocate an interior subdivision street, affects a condition of approval of the preliminary plat by the Plan Commission, or would require a waiver of these regulations or negate the basis for the modification that was granted. The following changes to an approved preliminary plat may be incorporated into the final plat or require only a final plat amendment if already approved. Minor increases or decreases in the area of the subdivision, addition, removal, or reconfiguration of an easement within the subdivision, and removal or reconfiguration of an internal lot line within the subdivision. Subdivisions involving public improvement or dedication of land to the public require action by the Owen County Board of Commissioners. There's not one of those in this one, I don't believe. The Plan Department will place the subdivision on the board public meeting agenda when the improvements are completed and when the assurance or executed agreement are provided. After the Plan Commission has granted the final approval and after the county has accepted any public dedications, improvements, or assurances of performance and maintenance, the commission seal shall be affixed to the final plat, and the secretary, or in the absence of the secretary, the president shall sign the certificate of the final approval. It shall be the responsibility of the subdivider to file the approved final plat with the county recorder within 30 days of the date of the execution of the certificate of final approval. Failure of the subdivider to file the plat as herein provided within the 30 days shall constitute a violation of this ordinance. 12.14, final plat requirement accuracy. A final plat shall show boundary lines that are accurate to 1 foot and 5,000 feet. 12.15, The final plat shall be prepared at the same size and scale as the preliminary plat. A final plat shall be filed with the planning commission accompanied by 3 black or blue line prints. A reproduction original shall be presented to the commission for the required signatures. It shall then be returned to the petitioner. And 1216 doesn't apply, correct, Jim? Okay. All right. That was a lot, but we have to get it in there. Okay. Do you have anything else, Mr. Hoff?
Nope.
Okay. Then you may be seated.
Thank you. Only have a few more procedural, if you want to do those up front.
Okay.
And there, one is just all the notice requirements, this is in the future walk through, as far as all the notice that have been taking place for the city.
Okay.
The sign was placed 10 days prior to the meeting. Certified letters were sent out to all adjoining property owners. And there was a notice in the newspaper 10 days prior to the meeting.
That was a pretty statute record that satisfies IC 36-7-4-706, and all of the notice requirements, and this is obviously a public hearing. Normally, there's one more procedure on 36-7-4709, specifically to A and B. You need to have written evidence today, in addition to the financial responsibility, that if there's any installation that's going to be done of water, sewer, or utilities, electric, any of that type, you need to have proof of either the written contract or a written record of how that is going to occur. And you would need to have that also before you have your final approval. The board must make a findings of fact on each one of these from A through K, that you are satisfied that all A through K have been, and then that way a written findings of fact can be prepared.
Okay. So that's our boundary lines by meter and bounds that provide a survey of the tract. Okay. All right. The certificate of improvement or completion of bond, that is that on, do we have that?
I have a certificate of bond that he provided to me.
Okay. All right. Okay. Deed of dedication, restricted covenant that we have. Certification of registered professional engineer or registered land surveyor. That plat has been.
On the plat.
Yes, okay. Just going through and make sure we have them all. Okay. Anything else, Jim?
No, you have to be satisfied of each and every one of the requirements and make sure you are satisfied with any utility installations of the kind.
Okay. Does anyone on the,
Do we have anything from water company or
for this plat?
say from RMC as far as?
No, I don't have any of that, no.
So we don't have any of the utility information from,
No, but I think we do have the septic, which was provided in the original plat,
right,
but the water and electric, no, we do not.
okay.
You probably have to have something from the water company at least to show that they've got sufficient lines to provide for that subdivision.
We are actually required to put our own water mains in. We've been working closely with the water company and REMC throughout this whole process on both the Rolling Meadows Phase 2 and this one. So right now, we've got enough power and water for like 10 lots along the water main and power line that we got coming in, the underground power. And like I said, we've already got plans with the water company to expand we're actually gonna make a loop connecting to Concord Road with the water main to make it, we've been dealing with it, but I haven't got anything in actual writing, so.
Probably have
But
to
it's,
have
it'd be no problem.
I think we're gonna have to have it in writing, just to keep everything on the
we can
up.
provide that for you.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no problem, it's just a matter of getting. Same with REMC, I've been dealing with their engineers also.
and,
If I could, just so there's total
Yes, sir.
clarity. 36-7-4-709, 2B specifically says the plan commission will determine, and it's based on written evidence, if the contract provides satisfactory assurance that the service will be installed or extended in compliance with the subdivision control ordinance. So there is a demand, at least statutorily, that you have written
Right,
evidence.
I mean, we can't proceed without those two pieces of information, unfortunately. So, yes, sir.
Refresh my mind, this preliminary was some time ago. Roads are private. Right?
I actually, in the covenants, we wrote it that, the HO fee wasn't gonna kick in until we paved it in the event that the county does take over the road, because I've heard both ways. Those would cease upon the counties taking over the maintenance once we get it to their specifications,
So the homeowners association.
If it stays private, we would do it, it's a real nominal fee, and it only starts after the roads are paved, and then would cease upon the county taking over maintenance of it, if it ever occurred.
So we wrote practice, there's lots of people who have road problems.
Exactly, well, we've got it written either way, so.
I mean, he had the road, like, just like he said, he's gonna pave it. Once he's got it paved, then we can petition the county to take it over
Exactly.
potentially. Until then, the HOA would take care of the maintenance on the road, correct?
And that's how we put it into the cover, restricted cover.
Well, and honestly, until we get the utilities squared away, I gotta have something in writing. I don't know, Jim, I've never had this before, so we're at an impasse here, we just,
Right, this is just, I mean, it's a technicality, but it's a very important technicality.
yes, sir.
So you would have the absolute authority to table this request, and set it for the next available plan commission. My one recommendation would be, since, to make sure everything's clear, that as a board, that you are satisfied that the preliminary plat and the final plat have no material deviations of any kind, because that's another important element of this.
I personally don't see, does anyone have anything on the final plat that you see that's a deviation from what we saw at the beginning? I know it's been a while, but.
Is it possible, correct this to you, Councilman, that we could approve it subject to that? You'd still have to bring it back, but the other issues that someone might have, the public, we could vet here tonight.
You can address every issue.
Yeah,
But the first part of your question, I would not recommend an approval even subsequent. I would put no problems at all. Everyone's notified to have their say tonight and then bring this back to the table with the written evidence.
So for now, I'll make a motion that we table this.
I apologize, do you want to hear from the?
Yeah, we can't, well, should we hear it from the,
You want to hear from
okay,
the public
all right.
first before you table.
All right, so before we have public comment, I do want to read Mr. Beaumont's letter into the record, just so we have it out there, so that everybody knows what's going on with it. So, Owen County Planning Commission, from Stephen Beaumont, adjacent owner, and Steve is, can you bring that? Just so everybody knows, I'm sure everybody knows where it is.
Here's the property.
Here's the property we're talking about. Steve is right up here. And he's referring to a sinkhole down on Mr. Lewinsky, is that how you say your name, sir? Right in this area, okay? So that's what this letter is in reference to. Still very concerned about my access road to my lake and cabin being flooded by all the development on Fiskus property. All the APA has determined there are karst features populated with underground sinkholes and 2 underground rivers. The picture shows a new sinkhole, and if you'll pass those around, Suzanne, I've already seen them. Lost my place, folks. And 2 underground rivers. The picture shows a new sinkhole by a home just off of Concord Road that is already undermining the property. I'm also concerned about the trash getting in my lake and would ask that black silt fence be up at the 75-foot buffer line. So, Mr. Hobbs, if you could take care of that.
We're going to clean and brush to get that.
Okay.
Then,
I mean, like I've said many times in these meetings, being good neighbors is a really good start, okay? The said property slopes so bad at my corner that it needs to be filtered and leveled to ground. It sounds like he's willing to do that for you, Steve. These sinkholes, and Bill, can you enlighten us a little bit on karst? I mean, the whole county's full of limestone and karst, right?
At least this eastern part, more
Yeah.
sandstone, the west, but. State Park was part of a sinkhole that they mined out of Chambersville Cemetery, part of a mine, one thing, because of limestone. What happens is underneath the dirt and underneath the limestone, there are different waterways. Sometimes those give way. When I was about 3 years old, out there at the corner of 43 and 46, there's a large sinkhole there. There was one that was not quite as deep. My dad was building a pond for the guy that owned it. And it all caved in, and they dropped about 20, 25 feet. That big hole used to not be that big, but after skimming some dirt and the weight of a dozer, down they went. And we're gonna have that anywhere you look, anywhere in the eastern part of this county because of limestone. And that's,
Ken, you're soil, right, and water.
I used to be,
Any insight into,
not much more than Bill said, that it's, like it's underneath there, you really can't see it, or, I mean, you can try to drill and try to determine stuff, but it changes under there.
I guess the big question is there any way to there's no way to fix it really, is there? It's a geography.
as soon as you fill it, if there's an underground current, it's eventually gonna wash it away, so it becomes a never-ending path.
Which is, that's what you said about the dirt, it's just gone, correct?
Right, it's gone.
Okay. Well, I just,
You can actually see the tunnel going towards Concord Road, and you can also see another one headed south. Just by looking down in that hole, you can just see a big black tunnel.
I guess the $1,000,000 question is, what do you do about,
There are things you can do.
excuse me?
There are steps that you can take for a karst feature. They're expensive.
Yeah.
Can I talk now?
Sure, if you don't mind, though, state your name so we have it on record.
Hi, my name is Hank Lashevsky, and I have a farm on Concord Road. I currently work for Cook, and I'm on your side, guys. I mean, to build the economy and the infrastructure for Owen County, we need help, we need revenue. And populating new homes is the way to do that. I think Cook's putting in 300 homes.
Not all here, no, but
Okay. Well, in either case, here's the issue, and that is who has the problem. I have a sinkhole, and it is scary. I'm from Jersey, I'm not used to this. And I mean, this hole will go from where I am to that wall, and the sides are straight down. And my neighbor was terrified, because it's right next to his house, so he came over, I put a fence around it to protect it, and talked to our farmer, and he's gonna take care of it. So I have a problem. I talked to the EPA, and they said, hey, you live in Owen County, and there's a potential for sinkholes everywhere. He said, but don't worry, because you have a karst feature. I said, what's a karst feature? A karst feature is a property that's populated with surface sinkholes as well as underground sinkholes. I said, where's the nearest karst feature so I can look at it? He said, across Concord Road, there's a field out there that is a karst feature. I went, oh, okay. That reminded me of a story, and that was a guy came over to my house about 5 years ago, an adult, and he was crying. He said, I bought this lot from Gary Fiskus, and my house is on a sinkhole. I want to take my excess water and run it into your field. Now the question is, who has the problem? He does. I don't want it. This field. Right now, if there's damage, that damage is the responsibility of the owner. The question is, do we want to take on that potential risk for the county? As I understand, this board has conditional immunity, meaning that you can't be prosecuted for decisions that you make unless you make a decision knowing willfully that it causes damage. So that exposes my county to potential litigation if there's damage on that property from construction, houses, sinkholes, people falling in. Right now, we don't have a problem. The question is, do we want to take on that burden? I don't know. I know we need the money. I'm behind you 110%. But can we do it in a safe way? I have a solution. Right next door to me, here's a field. Who owns it? Gary Fiskus. Beautiful field. It's not a karst feature. You could put 200 homes there and not be exposing yourself, your personal assets, if you choose to go that way. I think that's it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, let's just go right down the line. Steve, did you want to speak on this?
Well, I just, like I said, the property butts up to me. I've got water problems right now. Last week when it rained, I presented pictures to you folks from the past of the property flooding my property, flooding my lane, flooding the roads. The sinkholes can't take care of it until it takes 3 or 4 days for it to dissolve. It'll actually fall, it'll absolutely go across Concord Road in about 3 places out there by my house. Not only does it flood my property, it's flooding his property, it's making his lake overflow at a tremendous rate at times. When we do get these storms, which we're getting harder storms than I've ever seen before. I mean, it just keeps like, we don't get a rain shower anymore, we get a storm. Trees are getting uprooted. I've already got lines in my property where water's running down through it and taking the topsoil off from other development already. I don't know what to do. I don't think there's anything I can do. Hope it don't open another sinkhole on my property. I know there's some civil laws on this, and I'm not going to get into them, but you're not supposed to flood another man's property intentionally. I've about said all I can because I've been here 3 times now, and things just keep getting worse for me. Like I said, I've lived out here forever. They're gonna put houses right up against my line, I mean, within 75 feet, I can see it. They've already started a road, which they're not supposed to. They've already started putting in a road out there. I haven't seen any drainage whatsoever. I don't know if they got the road approved by you guys or what, but they've already started the road on the back side of the property. I don't know if it's put in right or not, but with these roads, if this gets approved, I feel like superintendent of the highway of Owen County needs to look at these roads being put in before they go, okay, now you guys take care of them, okay?
Right.
The drainage is not even right, and then they go, well, we should have had a pipe here, but now it's too late. We should have had something done here, but it's too late to do that. We need to quit letting them do stuff and then go, hey, you need to move this road or you need to do this. We need to update on some of this stuff instead of just letting it snowball.
Well, and the roads are his HOA's problem until the county would agree to take them over, and Greg's not gonna agree to anything until it meets county specifications, correct, Greg? So I know that's not gonna happen. We've got enough road issues without taking on more that aren't done up to the specifications they're supposed to be done to. But he has addressed that in the HOA thing, so, but thank you for speaking. Anyone else? Yes. State your name first, please.
Christy May, I live on the east side of the property. I don't know anything about sinkholes, but I do have a couple concerns, one being, what does this mean for us? We're not a part of that subdivision as I take it, so there's no HOAs for us, right? No HOAs for us. But the road runs in front of us, so that's the access road to all of our homes.
So you're in these houses over here, right?
Phase 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
phase 2.
Gotcha.
So, what's that mean for our road? Is the access road from Mount Carmel still going to be the same as he builds this? Is it going to be widened, in front of my house? I know he's widened it from my driveway to Mount Carmel, but he hasn't widened it in front of our homes, which will be part of the new subdivision. And then I have a question about the HOA. I mean, we're not a part of it, right?
No,
So if you said that the HOA, the people in the HOA have to take care of the roads before it becomes a county issue, well, that road is our road. So how does that work?
well, I don't know where the property line is on that road. Is it
It's right on the
completely,
line. It runs right up beside Rolling Meadows Phase 2 on the west side.
okay, is it outside of the roadbed or is it right down the middle of the road?
The property line is the edge of the road.
Okay, on their house side of the road,
No,
on the other side?
right.
So the road's actually on their
My
lots?
property, no. It's not on their lot.
Okay,
Where do they have access to?
They had access in the back of their lots, the legal easement, and they just wrote those, signed them away. So now they actually have no legal easement.
Susan, where's this at on the map? Would you point their
We
property?
didn't have no access.
Right here.
To the back.
You guys had an easement back there and you dissolved it.
What was there going to be in a road deal anyway?
Right.
We dissolved that to help Kevin Cooper out. And there's a
Yeah,
sinkhole
there's a
down on
sinkhole
one end
right
of
over
it.
my house.
So, and there's a big tower right there electrical. The original deal for your access road was no way you're gonna put it in there anyway, because we're gonna move $1 million tower. So technically, that access road you really had wasn't nothing. So now there really is
County
anything
legal
else,
easement,
but now there's not one.
because you guys signed it away.
And you was in on that one.
There was a variation of the plat then in phase 2.
Nobody showed
Yeah,
us.
it was originally to be on, the original was supposed to be on the west side of Rolling Meadows Phase 2 in '07. In '10, the current owner, I'm not sure who it was or whatever, came before the board and switched it to the other side of the road, right in the middle of the tower.
Yeah, I mean, the road, the rest of the whole tower.
that must have been before me, because that wasn't.
I mean, kind of hard to build a road, you build an electrical
Well, I'm just
tower.
saying, originally, phase 2 would have had that plat went through this whole
Yes,
thing
it
like we're
did.
doing
It
now.
was, it had the driveway on the west side originally, and then in '07, when it was originally okay, in 2010, they came back and switched it to the other side of the lot, and then the lots went bankrupt. And then we bought them in Nashville.
I know they all went bankrupt.
Right.
I
So still,
understand.
what does that
But-
mean?
I understand that, but
I mean, he
just
built
trying,
those houses and now he's building across the street, but
I'm
now he's
just-
saying we have no legal access.
I'm
So I
just
don't
trying to
understand.
get something, a point across here, that
Right.
someone would have had to come here and had that plat changed.
Exactly.
And that would have all had to be resurveyed.
Who done it?
And then that road that you put in there, sir,
We just put it right up our property line.
if that went over there, then they could put a road right next to yours.
Right, that's fine.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Whatever they need to do. I don't see why they need to. I mean, it's 20 foot wide now. I don't know how much.
I
wider.
understand that, sir, but that road does not belong.
You
I'm
can't
sorry,
You're
pass.
saying that
You
road
can't
doesn't
pass.
belong to them.
No, it does. The road is access, I mean, it's,
I know, but you're saying it
Never
doesn't
been an issue.
belong to them, it belongs to you.
right.
And they have no legal access.
Well, they
to it.
did have it, that's why we never addressed it, because there was the legal easement was back there, this wasn't developed.
It's all.
Now it's been completely erased.
But you couldn't build a house over a road.
And you can't build a road through the.
But I didn't
tower,
plant
you
the
can't
back
build-
road in, I mean, that was,
No, he didn't,
we bought the
do
lots.
that.
So the access we have now was just temporary?
No. It's gonna be part of this new subdivision, it's gonna be county property.
So, hang on a second.
It's
So,
gonna be turned over to the county maintenance, was my understanding when we started this.
So will the system that's there now,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do,
times.
it'll not pay HOA?
It'll be a county road.
It won't pay HOA.
You're not on Foster Farms.
The county will not recognize that road if it's gravel.
It's not gonna be gravel, it's gonna be built up to their county standards before I can turn it over to them.
When's this gonna be?
As soon as I
After you
can,
build all the other homes?
I mean, it's gonna be pretty soon. I mean, as soon as I get this okayed, I can't spend money on a maybe.
Well, okay, I'm just asking. I mean, this is
All right,
gonna
folks.
I gotta get this
Hey,
in writing before I can,
Folks.
go ahead.
I know, but we're not gonna argue amongst ourselves.
Right.
So, I have a question for you, ma'am. Currently, is your driveway attached to that road? I mean, everybody that lives up here, we're all attached to that road, correct? All right, so, and I don't know what kind of authority we have here on this, but if we're talking about the county taking it over, 20 feet?
County hasn't taken it.
No, I'm saying if we're talking about that happening someday, then that has to meet, I just wanna get the specs out to everybody. 20 feet wide,
16
Greg?
feet wide, right, is what I was told.
Is it 18 or 20?
I was told it was 18.
18, but then we need, 20 foot from the center for right of way.
20 foot from center and both directions right away. Okay. That would easily get into their property and get them an attachment,
It's
correct?
gonna be hard to do though.
Yeah, well,
Gravel's right here, and power lines are right there, and electrical boxes.
I'm not talking about in the back, I'm talking about,
I'm talking around the road.
okay, in the front
The
there.
only way he's gonna be able to do that is he might come over a couple feet, but that's about it, because we're not gonna move on that electrical. He'll have to go
There's
back
plenty of
over.
room to make it wide.
I mean, he can still make it 20 feet, but it's gonna have to go mostly the other way.
I got a question
I see what you're going, I see what
Go
you're
ahead.
going.
for Mr. Hobbs. Do you think the people who would buy a house in there and pay an HOA is going to sit still for the people who are joining that and not part of the HOA, having a road provided for them and them not paying?
Well,
There'd be some pushback.
The goal was to get it to county maintenance pretty quickly, and that was, pretty much the run that's in there now is ready to get to that stage right now. I was waiting on this to be okayed, and then we're gonna upgrade it to county spec, and it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, that's why, you know, the easement was in the back, that's why it was never written into the property. And then now it only become an issue when all the easements were dissolved, so. I'd be glad to write an easement into each one of these lots.
So, that was my question, could we get
Yeah.
that, when you come back with your paperwork for electric and water, can you,
That would have to be a part of their deeds, though, I think, that easement.
Yeah, no.
I'm no attorney, but I think that would have to be a part of their deeds, they'd have to have new deeds drawn.
This has nothing.
Nothing to do with this.
What's that?
excuse me?
What I'm saying is, this conversation, and I'm totally respectful, and it's a proper one, but it has nothing to do with what you're saying.
No, we're not what we're dealing with
All I'm
tonight.
saying is, as a plan commission, I'm just asking you caution of engaging in a private discussion between private homeowners and a contractor.
Okay.
All I want to be clear, it is not a county road.
Okay.
It has no respect to anyone, just a fact is a fact, it is not, and until it is, it's not. I know that sounds really ridiculous.
We know what we're talking about.
So, basically, we have no ability to do any of this, but I do wanna listen to you anyway, so. I mean, I don't have anything for you right now.
I mean, as for the construction part of it, I mean, how fast do you plan on building the home?
We're gonna start slow and try to pick up speed as we go.
So not just 1 year like you have been doing?
Now, we've been doing sometimes 2 to 3 a year.
Yeah, I'm just curious, how long
Continue
that,
pace.
how that road, how long that access road will be under
As quick as I
construction?
can.
Folks,
Faster than-
folks. Sorry, that's a discussion you're gonna have with each other outside of here, okay? All right, so go ahead, sir.
Part of the thing this morning, I live in phase 2, lot 5, my name's Dan Drake.
Okay. Yes, sir.
When you have an ambulance come there, we have a east and a west road, they're both Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel runs in front, Mount Carmel runs east and west. And if you ever have an emergency, they don't know how to get there. you put in my address, 4015 on Carl Road, it'll put you right in front, it says, it'll take you there. So I propose that maybe you could rename the roads, because the roads have never been named. You got Mount Carmel in front, now you got to get to the house.
They don't recognize our
They
road.
need their name of maybe Mount Carmel East, Mount Carmel West.
So is that a commissioner thing? I would say. Is Gary out there? Can
He
we,
just stepped out, but
that's a 911.
Okay.
It would be a 911 thing.
It's a 911.
But you can't find it, I just,
Okay.
turn.
Well, and I appreciate that. I have no jurisdiction there. I'm trying to find out who does so we can get you some help.
I think you know what I'm talking about, since the roads to the east has been built, but they have a Mount Carmel address,
Got it.
the last 3 or 4. That's when it got turned around and everything.
So
But that's something different.
Okay,
Time of construction, we was talking about, like speed it up, we don't want one every year, I don't know if there's a time frame on it. Name of the roads, they need to be named, instead of just put, it's Foster Farms, I go up Foster Farms Road, but I'm not at Foster Farms.
gotcha.
And then the watershed, I'm concerned about it just like everybody else. And then the roads, is there gonna be a bond on these roads when they're built, so they are done?
There's a bond on the plat.
Yeah,
There is?
Yes.
Okay. And there's, and then you got a second, when Kevin comes up, I'll have a question on that.
So what's the process for 911, Greg? Or can you speak on that?
that's my department.
That you, okay,
Yeah. And when I started, that's what those addresses were.
okay.
Now, I'm not sure if they add a road out there or a lane or whatever and change the name. I mean, I'd have to reissue addresses to every one of them. But I believe Kevin Cooper's would be the same way because his is all Mount Carmel Road addresses as well.
So
We've
we've
got
got,
3 elderly people there, we might need it.
Right.
right,
Well, and
So-
I didn't know why it was done that way to begin with, but I would assume it was because the only access was from Mount Carmel, so they just numbered them as Mount Carmel addresses. I really can't say what the former
I think
911
for
are.
any emergency services
Mhm.
added in, whether it's sheriff, ambulance, fire, or even
Mhm.
my department, that needs to be done.
Well, and 911 is updated monthly. So they have your address if I change any address, it's changed once a month.
If you go to the last 4 houses, you have to go to the other
Right.
side, go up that, I don't know what that road is, it's a road.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the same Mount Carmel address as yours.
Part of this final plat though is he's required to have names for all of these.
Right.
So, but.
does he name them or does the count, does he name them? Do the
No, he has
he would
names
have-
for
he
them.
would have
Yeah,
to
he
name
does have
those
names
roads,
for
but
them.
not the counties.
He does have
He
names for
does
them
have
already.
names for
Okay,
his roads.
so they are named.
So if he has, if the road that's they access, if that's the road that we name it in the end, then I can change all their addresses to that, and you can start using those, give them new addresses, so then it can,
How does that happen?
I would just use the map.
You couldn't give these people in phase 2 new addresses to.
If they, I'm assuming if they request a new address on that new road, they could be provided that.
There's no
Unless
road.
you replatted both of those to join those together.
Well,
we've already changed it twice,
yeah,
now we're having to do it again,
Those are 2 different.
and we still don't have a name of the road.
yeah,
And now they're without a road.
No, it won't be ours, we're not supposed to be
In
ours.
regard to the 911
That's the
system,
one. And we're gonna be the only road?
name the road, change the addresses, and then it will go into the CAD system, 911.
Yeah.
Where emergency services can get to.
and like I said, I provide that once a month to 911, the 911 dispatch. So it goes into their system about this time of the month, every month, I issue it.
Does the private citizen need to contact you to make sure that happens, or do they?
I would probably need to discuss and make sure what I need to do on
I'm
it.
just trying to find out what they need to do
Yeah,
to get with you.
yeah.
Make it easy.
Okay. All right. Anyone else on the property in question? All right, seeing nothing. I make a motion that we table this until we get the information from water and from electric. And hopefully come back with some sort of private that doesn't involve us.
I got another, I also, table or, maybe having an optional buy-in for the PHOA. It was another idea.
And there again,
I just wanted
yeah.
to get it out there.
Alrighty,
But
so,
also, you know, I would be willing, I know this is not good, but I'd be willing to write an easement into their access road.
there again, that's outside of what we're doing tonight.
Get it
So,
out there for everyone, so. So it doesn't look like I'm
I
trying.
have a motion on the floor to table, seconded by Bob Curry, all in favor of tabling?
Aye.
And Bill is disposed
Absent,
right
but I'll
now.
vote for him.
6-0.
6-0. 6-0.
Do we need to wait till Bill gets back?
He would be abstaining.
Okay, so
So
put him
it's
6-0-1.
6-0-1.
Yes, just wanna make sure we're covered. All right, long way to get there, but thank you, everyone, for being respectful and stuff. I appreciate it. That's what it's gonna take for us to get through these things. Get more done that way. All right. Section 5B, Kevin Cooper, Rolling Meadows. Kevin, you wanna come forward, please? This is a preliminary plat. So state your name first and then.
I am Kevin Cooper, working on new division. I guess pretty much, it's not been that long ago since I was in here, so, we did get the drainage study, Abrams Moss, and, I think you guys have a copy of all that information.
Yes, sir.
And the preliminary plat was done. We do have the power line issue, wipes out a couple of acres there for sure. And once we get that final survey, we'll know more on that, the setbacks and everything on lot 5. Other than that, we plan to, as soon as we know that we can kind of keep moving, putting the drainage basins in, the swells in where they need to be. And we apologize to the landowners because we know with these storms that there's a lot of erosion taking place, but at the same time, hopefully you're mindful that as we get the approvals to go forward, that's when we can spend the money to stop the erosion control or put the erosion control situations in. Be a lot of time and effort to put all those things in place and then get told to move something and have to make some adjustments. So that's our next priority if pending approval to move forward.
And just for the record, Greg and Gary and myself have all been out there and looked at this road and discussed whatnot. And we got the situation with the turn in there at that house. That's taken care of, right?
We're
A
putting,
fence.
just to update you guys on that, we talked with the homeowners on, I believe it's lot 7 on Rolling Meadows Phase 2. And we came up with a mutual agreement that we'd put in a guardrail, and they're putting a white privacy fence in, which will alleviate the light coming directly at them. We'll put the guardrail in, to keep any roll-off or runoffs in the middle of the winter or anything. Ended up, didn't realize who they were, they became, it was a good family friend of mine's family, so we got caught up on a lot of that and makes perfect sense, so.
Well, and you know, you've seen the requirements for the setbacks in our ordinance for subdivision, so the power lines are gonna be an issue for him, we've talked about this.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see what your final plat comes back and looks like. I do have to go through the procedures here.
If I can ask one question.
Yes, sir.
Before we get to that. I guess the question I have, when we went through this on the last portion of the development of Phase 2, the setbacks from the county standpoint was 75 foot. I know Susan's probably gonna hit me later because I drive her nuts with these questions all the time. With the housing addition and the covenants and restrictions, what weight and what bearing do those setbacks have that are put in the covenants and restrictions as opposed to the counties? Just seems like a lot of wasted effort to put any setback in a covenant and restriction only to be trumped right back to the county's setbacks again.
Well, the setbacks are the guideline for any development. Your other option is the BZA and get a variance to, change the setback on the properties where it's a situation. And you're probably gonna have at least two, would be my guess. I would highly recommend that on the rest of them, if you can meet the setbacks, just to do it, and I think you'll be able to.
Absolutely, yeah.
And am I correct in that, Jim? That,
They have, this is for preliminary plat. We start with the standards.
right,
And you either meet the standard or you don't meet the standard. I mean, there's no ambiguity there. If you are a plan commission and you're talking about setbacks here, there's specific areas where if you are, first of all, you've got to go through like A through Z. And the person presenting this has to present to you that he or she has complied with each and every one of these. Number F is building setbacks. Now, if you are going to waive a setback requirement, you have the authority, since that's under Title 12 as far as the setbacks. Anything in Title 12, you as a plan commission, but you'd be doing that tonight. There wouldn't be waiting. So if you're going to waive the setback, the first thing that has to be done here is to go through and find out what, and everywhere that he's complied are clearly not complied.
Okay.
Then you're going through the areas where there's, would have to be a specific request for a waiver. You may or may not want to grant that. The only way it would go to the BZA is after everything has been applied and an original homeowner then would be coming in for some reason. That's hypothetical, I don't have an example for that.
all right,
But for tonight, the burden is on the person presenting. They have to show, I've met them all. Anywhere that you're unsatisfied, there has to be discussion today whether you go back and redesign this plat where it does, or you as a group, by majority vote, do a waiver. There has to be a findings of fact on that and an explanation of why or why not that it's granted. This is not a final decision, but everything really has to be decided tonight.
Okay.
Because the final cannot materially deviate from the preliminary when we come back. The other thing is if there's any utilities, water, sewage or such, which I do not know, there needs to be letters of evidence and letters presented to you today on how those issues are going to be, or if it's all private well, that has to be writing for you or the health department as a look at it.
okay. So let's just run through these final, well, we're not at final plat yet, but, the requirements are still the requirements, correct, Jim, even if it says final plat?
No, you're at 12, we're at 12-4. So this is 12-4, and this is plat approval procedures written application. So for the preliminary plat, it starts at number A, the name of subdivision. You have those normal?
I'm looking.
It starts at 12.4.
No, mine starts at 12.9.
Okay.
It was that other piece here I gave you.
12.4 is Blunders. So start out, there has to be a name of the subdivision. Part B, the names and addresses of the owner, subdivider, county planner, land planning, engineer, surveyor, who prepared the plat. All tract boundary lines number C with dimensions, bearings, angles, references to section, township, range line, and borders. D, the lot layout showing dimensions and the numbers. E, the parcels, if any, to be dedicated for schools, parks, playgrounds, public community. F is the setback lines. G, all streets and right-of-ways will join the subdivision by name with approximate grading, type and width of pavement, curbs, sidewalks, crosswalks, trees, and other relevant information. H, location and width of all purposes of all easements. I, location and approximate size and capacity of all utilities. J, contours, vertical intervals of at least 5 feet. K, all legends and notes. L, other features significantly affecting the subdivision. M is the scale. On the plat that you have, there should be a north pointed date. N, phases, if any, which the subdivision will be constructed. O, you need to have a drainage plan prepared and certified by a registered professional engineer pursuant to Indiana law. P, location, owning, zoning, and adjacent properties, including location, size, and use of all buildings within 50 feet of the lot line. Q, a description of protected covenants or private restrictions, if any, to be included in the plat, or a list of all owners, addresses of adjacent properties as they appear in the current records of the county auditor, including 911 addresses. S, street cuts in the county roads or state roads. T, the source of tile as shown by the most recent entry in the county recorder. U, you need to have the floodplain boundaries applicable, including classification of the floodplain. And V, the location, size, elevation, capacity, and description of all existing or permanent significant features, natural and man-made, not limited to trees, watercourses, falls, beaches, historic places, rock formations, all streets, sewers, drains, water bodies, swamps, other wetlands, railroads, transmission towers, and existing structures. The plat should include the county ditches, legal drains, water mains, culverts, utility lines, fire hydrants, drainage, structures, water elevations, approximate high water and low water, joining lakes, rivers, streams at the date of the survey, and the approximate size and capacity of utilities may be presented on the noted plat. All of these things are needed. In addition, if any public water or sewage disposal is to use, the preliminary plat shall be accompanied by a letter from the utility company signed what services will be available for the specific lots. So those are the minimum requirements that you would be evaluating tonight. If any of those do not comply, then with all of the existing standards, starting on 12/15, then you would make determinations on whether or not you're going to grant any variances tonight.
Okay. So let's go back up to the beginning, to A. So we have a name of the subdivision. And
Rolling Meadows,
Meadows,
phase
okay.
3.
names and address of the owners and subdivider and the county planner, land planning consultant, engineer, or surveyor who prepared the plat.
Yes.
We have that. Track boundaries, lines with dimensions, we have that because we have the preliminary plat. Lot layout showing dimensions and numbers, we have that. Parcel to be dedicated or reserved for schools, parks, playgrounds, or other public community purposes, there's not one.
No.
Building setback lines, we do not have that, I don't believe. Do we have that?
Well, I don't believe that. You didn't provide anything on the setbacks or anything.
David didn't add any of that in there, I don't believe, no.
No, I don't,
Remember seeing
it wasn't on there,
Okay.
no.
Parcels, street and right of ways to the adjoining the subdivision by name, width, approximate gradient type, and width of pavement, and including curved sidewalks, crosswalks, trees, and other relevant information. So we have the street. Is that named yet? Just out of curiosity, that
No.
street? No? Okay. Going down, location, width, and purpose of the easement, that's in the drawing. Location, approximate size or capacity of utilities. Do we have any of that information?
Should have been in
The utilities?
The location, approximate size, or capacity of the utilities, is that on there?
Right. The only thing is the easement for them right now that's in there, we don't have the utilities, I mean, I guess again,
I would, just like the previous one, I would get my letter from electric and from water.
before the preliminaries.
Well, we have to
I
satisfy,
find that
Yeah.
yeah, the letter is no problem.
yeah, we have to satisfy everything here or we can't move forward, that's the thing. So,
At some point.
I mean, that's just how it is, I mean, this is the standard we have to meet. So we need building setback lines, we need letters from electric and water, street names, location, approximate size, utility, contour and vertical intervals at 5 feet, I think that was in there. That's what this is.
Yes.
So going down, let's see what, I wanna make sure we give him a definitive list tonight. legend or notes. Other features significant affecting the subdivision, scale, north point, and date. We have phases, if any. There's not any phases on this one. Drainage plan prepared and certified and registered. I've seen that. Yes, sir. Okay. Just making sure. I want to get it all squared away. Location, owner, zoning, use of the adjacent properties, including location, size, and use of all buildings within 50 feet line of the lot lines. So that's gonna be our picture of the adjacent properties. Wherever that is. I know I've seen.
Additional properties? I
Yeah,
didn't see
then
anything.
don't we have a plat that has the other properties?
No.
No, the only plat I have
It's in there.
is this plat here,
Yeah.
but it doesn't reference any of the neighboring properties. So,
Does the drainage plan, does it include, I mean, how it's gonna affect the stormwater and stuff?
Yeah,
Neighbors.
did you get this?
Pardon me, yeah, I've got that, it takes some engineering reason, that's for me.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to wonder if that,
It just.
one of those lots
the
there, I mean,
proposed.
like even what, the lot 3 and 4, there's swales back there.
Right,
I didn't know how you was planning on building right there, to be honest with you.
right, and I mean,
And
yeah, the setbacks, the portions of it, I mean, there's, lot 3 is probably the most contoured of them all. But, you know, if you do like a walkout there would be acceptable, I believe.
the description of the protective covenant and private restrictions, I don't remember seeing that. Was it in there?
preventive covenants, yeah, he has covenants for
I thought he did,
restrictions.
but I don't
Yeah.
see it.
Yes, everything is forward to.
I don't remember seeing the covenant. You guys,
The
I
covenants,
have not seen it.
I've seen it for the other one, but
I
not
didn't see
this.
it, I didn't see your covenant.
I'd say, you know,
I looked through all those before I came.
but there is attached to the application.
My bad. I have read them. It's been a while. If they were in this packet, I've read through them. But I've read a bunch of them. Okay, so we're good there. Let's go back to our list. Street cuts onto county or state roads. And are we still, Greg, are we good with his connection to the county road?
Yes,
And the culvert has been taken care of?
yes.
Okay. I thought so, but I figured I'd ask. Source of title, that's, and most recent entry in the book of the county recorder, is that'll be, that's what,
Yeah,
this
that's,
is.
yeah, he provided his,
floodplain
Title.
boundary of applicable, including classification of each floodplain, that's location, size, elevation, capacity, and or appropriate description of all existing, proposed, permanent, or significant features, either natural or man-made, including not limited to trees, water courses, falls, beaches, historic. Okay, so looks like from what I'm seeing here, we need the letters from the two utilities. We need a list of the adjacent owners' properties as they appear in the current record for the county auditor, including 911 addresses.
we do have that, that's
We do have that?
attached. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
All
attached
right.
to
So go back up, let's see what else we got. I wanna make sure we get it all.
you had the setbacks.
Needed setbacks, Kevin,
The street names.
street names. What's the
The
adjacent
location of
properties?
the width and the purpose of the easements.
And then we need the adjacent
And
properties.
then, yeah, and then the plat needs to show adjacent property owners.
So,
Should he get addresses for each one of the lots?
well, the problem is, we got addresses that don't mean anything right now. I don't know if they'll do us any good. If we're gonna change addresses.
He's on the opposite side.
Right, but
But if those properties are adjacent to, right?
We're in the middle.
Where the houses are turned around.
I mean, I'm assuming, do you guys currently have addresses?
We do have that.
We have
Okay.
addresses, but it's Mount Carmel Road.
So we're gonna have to, I guess we're gonna have to go with what we have.
The road Kevin's got will not affect those people.
Yeah, but it's saying here we have to show adjacent property owners. on the plat.
Right.
So, that's the only question.
Right. And the people that Kevin's already built houses for on the north side of Rolling Meadows Phase 2 all have Mount Carmel addresses as well. Because that was the sequence that was already there, so I just kept the sequence that was there, so.
Okay,
No, I can, but.
Yes, sir. yes, sir.
This is the standard, I mean, these are what I would call the macro topics. What I would recommend then would start in the zoning code on page 53 for the subdivided, start at 1220 and work all the way to 1245-62, because the subdivision has to satisfy to you now the actual standards. So this is just, here I have the general information, now you want the specific, and then that lists out setbacks, roads, all of the utilities, the easements, and the fee. So that needs to be the checklist for the planning commission when this comes in. So now you've got all the information, now you're checking the micro information and make sure that it meets. If it doesn't, that's where you as a planning commission will make a determination whether you want to grant a waiver or not grant a waiver if something doesn't meet in those sections.
Well, we're not in compliance with 3 of these.
Well, you're not in compliance with three macro, absolutely.
Right.
But even if you're in total compliance with all the macro topics, there still could be a number, like if the setbacks are 20, I'm just making this up.
Okay.
But if the setbacks are 20 feet, now, yes, he's provided you with setbacks, but they don't comply. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Is you have to have all the general information, and now I would strongly recommend from the person doing the subdivision, go through each one of these standards and make sure, yes, not only do I have the main topic, but I can show a checklist that I comply with each and every one of these standards.
Do you have this document he's referring to?
No, sir.
Or you get it from the planning.
Well, it was the document I provided you at the beginning, it was a separate thing that had a kind of a checklist
The
looking.
macro, the macro or the
Yeah, it had all of this information and it was kind of, had where you could check mark each thing off.
Right. That'd be my recommendation, this is your actual zoning code, using that would be my recommendation, that you have that ready, you can present to them. Because they've got to find,
So,
findings of fact that you comply.
so at this point, seeing as how we have some things we still have to take care of, are we okay to move forward with him doing the checklist on his own and then coming back to us?
The person doing the subdivision can do it any way that he wants,
Alright.
any fashion that he wants. I'm just suggesting, if it doesn't comply with these rules, no
Right.
matter how it's done, it still has to comply with these rules.
I got you.
So I move that we table this until we can get us.
Alrighty. Motion the table from Bill. Did I hear a second? Second by Bob Curry. All in favor of tabling for further information on the Cooper property? Let me know.
Nolan, are you opening up for public tonight on this, or?
Oh, I did not open it up for
Yeah.
So it's been tabled, but if anyone would like to speak on this property, feel free to do so. Stand up, state your name. We'll start right there.
Name's Dan Drake, Lot 5, Rolling Meadows.
Yes, sir.
I'll get it from both sides. The concern is the sinkhole behind me. You can all see the lake forms back there, I showed you pictures. Now, where he has built the road to the north and made the curve, I've been up there and there's a culvert that just throws everything down on it. And I know water's gonna come that way, I know that, but I don't want more coming to me than I should have.
Okay.
I don't know if you know where that culvert is.
Yeah, I know where the sinkhole you're talking about is. I've been out there in the corner there.
And I've seen water come up, actually shooting out of that hole.
I haven't seen that, but.
But no, and it gets pretty deep, but it goes away.
Right.
And that's good.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And, again, name of the roads and just the watershed and just time of construction, I think Kevin, for the most part, he's pretty quick.
Okay.
seems like he's doing some good jobs. You know, and I don't understand the situation where we got 13 lots, we got 11 houses, and then the last 3 got flipped around, now they're back, the front, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, well,
And then the setbacks got a little different, and that's why they came to us, because they said there was a road that could come through there. Well, we didn't want to go there, we just said, well, there's no road that goes across the sinkhole anyhow. So we just signed it.
yeah, and to his credit, he took the whole road onto his property, which was good for you guys, you gained some backyard,
Yeah.
and we appreciate
Now
that
I
kind
wonder-
of cooperation.
Now I wonder what the setback is if I want to do something. Is it changed?
No, your property line's still your property
I
line.
know, no, I'm talking about setback of doing something. Is it still 75 feet?
Well, he has to be 75 off the edge of the road, correct? That's the ordinance.
No, there's no
Yeah,
road,
there's no road behind us.
there's no road there.
It's
No,
up
no.
and then.
Well, on you, it would be 75, where the road starts, where it jogs and goes up, from that point up, it would have to be 75 off the
And
edge.
then you're gonna be doing the erosion thing. He said something about taking care of that.
Right, and he will, I think, that's why he's wanting to hear what you guys have to say, so.
Okay.
Who's next? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Chelsea Moss, with Abram Moss Design Group, so I did the drainage design for this, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I know that's a concern for a lot of people. So, the drainage design for this site actually includes 3 detention areas, because of it rolling. We've separated out into 3 detention areas. One of them is collecting water before it goes into the sinkhole you're referring to. So we're actually detaining before that, and we're not outletting at any faster rate than what was,
Well, I just see it breaking, that's all I'm saying.
well, and the detention's not installed yet. I've been speaking correctly on that. But finished, there will be a detention basin there, letting that water into that area at a slower rate. So it won't be just shooting out of the culvert.
Well, I'm saying one like that.
I imagine it is right now.
Well, yeah,
So that'll
that's
be,
our property.
and as soon as Kevin, like, right now, he's in a situation where he's gotta get the appropriate approvals to start putting those things in. There will be check dams and detention in that area,
I'd like to see it planned when it gets. Sure.
So anyone else to speak on the Cooper property?
Well, will those retention funds be drawn into the plat?
They probably should be, I know that's what we've done, the neighboring ones
They're not on
down in the
the
final plat. They're not on the plat right now, are they? So I'll work with Dave Meyer to get those drawn
We'll
in
need to
there.
get that too.
I believe you guys do have copies of those.
Location of sinkholes?
So you'll be able to see where those are and how those are.
All right.
Known sinkholes.
So anyone else on the Cooper property speaking? No one? Okay. All right. Once again, thank you, folks. Knowledge is power, and being good neighbors will get us a long way down the road if we can make it happen. And I appreciate everybody's patience. This is my first process of working through these kind of situations, so bear with me while I try to learn. Back on to the agenda. Jim, are we satisfied on that piece? We're good? We've tabled it?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
set up,
Nothing else?
no,
Okay.
those 2 are resolved, you did not grant, nor did you deny, you just tabled for more information.
All right. Okay. Section 5C, workforce housing, Texas Pike Place. There's someone here to speak on that, I'm sure.
Good evening.
You can step forward and state your name and come right on up.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got a small team
Okay?
with us this evening.
11.
So if you could come, yeah, the camera's there. So in here is probably the best place.
Okay.
We can't see you there.
Okay, thank you. I'll introduce the team in a moment. My name's Ron Walker. I'm president of Workforce Housing LLC for Cook Group Company, developing Texas Pike Place here. Our hope tonight is that we talk very little initially to give you a chance to ask the questions you need to ask us, and we get as much time for your questions as we can. But I have a few things I want to I want to say this evening, just to try to set the stage, and that is, we're here to seek your preliminary approval of our plat, but to us, this project is much, much more than that. Because we are trying to make the dream of home ownership true for many, many people. And I want to hit on a couple things for you. Home prices are at an all-time high. Inventories are at record lows. We know there's a tremendous need. It's been identified in Owen County as well as every county in south central Indiana. I think the number of homes done by the Regional Opportunity Initiatives that's in need in Owen County is over 700. We're proposing 96 here in our neighborhood. So with this tremendous need for housing, we found ourselves in a pretty difficult position. Many people that work for us and many people in the communities we reside in can't find a home that they can afford. Last week, the president of Cook said, as a company, we are committed to empowering individuals and communities to reach their potential. We want the communities we operate in to thrive. We've acknowledged that Owen County has that need. We have that need here in Owen County ourselves. And that's why we're doing this. That's why we're here tonight. We're fortunate that we can be in this position to do that. So before I get to our project and introduce our team, I want to read a couple things that came from our employees in the past few days. They got news that we had purchased property in Owen County and that we're planning to build homes here. Here's one. This is amazing news. When I first came to work for Cook 6 years ago, finding a place to live was not an easy task. The apartment we did find was not a great location. Luckily, we were eventually able to move to a better location in a proper home. The idea that other families might be able to avoid this struggle that we experienced is fantastic. Then another one. I wanted to reach out to you about the new housing because it sounds like a dream come true for me. I take care of my elderly mother. Currently, we live in an RV on a relative's property. If I could get us a home that is not very big and does not cost a fortune, where she would be close to me while I'm working, it would be so wonderful for both of us. I'm willing to work hard. I just wanted to let you know this would be a great opportunity, and I would like to get in from the very beginning. And the last one. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard about this pain point and also heard potential employees couldn't accept a job because they couldn't find an affordable place to live. Layer on that, this removes the barrier to home ownership, and it reminds me why I am so proud to work for Cook. Personally, it resonates with me as a mom, as my mom passed away, never having owned a home. She was one of the hardest workers I've ever known, but a single mom, 4 kids, and a high school education meant that we often lived in some rather questionable places. I know she always wished she could have owned a home of her own. That's just a sample of all the feedback we got. There's tremendous excitement and demand in Cook for this project. We're trying to solve a problem. We know the need is there. And so with that, I want to move to our proposal and really turn it over to you. What you're going to see tonight closely matches what we submitted to you months ago now in our rezone. Some tweaks. We've reduced the number of lots and improved some things as we've gone along. Our team tonight will be Jeff Fanyo, he's our civil engineer from Vine and Fanyo Associates. Bill Bakes from Bunder Robertson, our attorney, and Brad Boring, our construction manager from Cook Group. We're all here to talk to you and answer your questions. And with that, unless one of you would like to make some other comments, I really wanted to turn it over to you guys and let you start where you want to start and ask us the questions you want to ask us. And I've got additional handouts later.
Don't we go at this and start with good? Let's start with this, the notice and go there.
Yes, sir.
So this is a preliminary plat. This is in front of the Plan Commission. We're operating now under Indiana Code 36-7-4-706. After date of the hearing, the Plan Commission verified that the following occurred. Was the applicant notified in writing that this hearing would be conducted today?
Yes.
Was a notice given by publication in accordance to the newspaper, according to IC 5-3-1?
Yes.
Was there provided due notice for any interested party at least 10 days before the date set for this hearing?
Yes.
The planning department post and maintain a sign on subject property for at least 10 days prior to the hearing.
Yes.
And per the Owen County zoning code, were all interested parties notified by certified mail.
Yes.
Okay, but that testimony, President, that all notice qualifications have been met requirements. So I see 36-7-4706 have been satisfied. You are the planning commission. We're going to walk through this very quickly, but you have exclusive control. That is under Indiana Code 36-74701B. There was already a planning and zoning ordinance that has already been approved by the Board of Commissioners, and you've used that many times throughout the year. Therefore, that you have control, the subdivision ordinance does, in fact, comply with 76-74702B. There needs to be minimum width, depth, and area for the lots of the subdivision. Needs to be discussed today in public width, grades, curves in coordination of the subdivision, public ways, current and planned public ways, and any extension of water, sewer, or any municipal services. This does then require, under the under the Owen County zoning and subdivision ordinance, looking at specifically 12.4, those requirements that you just read in the previous hearing, this is a new hearing, so they need to be looked at. But starting with category A, from the name of the subdivision to B, the location, size, and elevation, capacity of all existing permanent features. You have to have all that general information. Once you are satisfied you have that general information, those that are proposing the subdivision must show that they have complied with all of the requirements and regulations that you will find in Chapter 12. That includes setbacks, lot size. Now, going to that, if one does not, that does not necessarily mean, then you leave. So I'm just going to say hypothetical. This is not true, this is hypothetical. If they had designed everyone to have 20 feet setbacks, all right, that obviously does not comply with the fact that they have to be either 75 or 25. But you, under the authority of, so this is the waiver statute. So Indiana Code 36-7-4702C. The standards fixed by subdivision control ordinance may be waived at the discretion of the planning commission. If you have limited authority, in my opinion, I'm just going to disagree, but my opinion would be that you are limited to anything that you find in 12. That is the subdivision control ordinance chapter. You would have that discretion to, one, find do they comply or not. If something does not comply, you would decide by majority vote on whether or not you want to grant a waiver. If it's anything outside of Chapter 12, then that would go to the BZA. But anything here that falls under 12 would come to you. You need to make findings of fact, and for all considered here tonight, this preliminary plat must materially, substantially comply with the final plat. So if it's approved and the waivers are made, written findings of facts are presented, if they come back for the final, you want the final and the preliminary to match and have no material substantial defects.
Okay. All right, Jim, thank you. Anything else?
No, just however you want to go through the 12.4 requirements and however you would like to proceed for pro and con.
Well, on the 12, I just like to go down the list here, and we'll see what we have. Name of the subdivision, we have that. Name and address of the owners, subdivider, and county planner, land planning consultant, engineers, and surveyors, we have that information. Track boundary lines and dimension, bearings, angles, reference, and section, township, and range lines are 4 corners. We have those.
Yes.
Lot layout showing dimensions and numbers, we have those. Parcels to be dedicated or reserved for schools, parks, playgrounds, and other public community purposes. We have those. I don't think they've been finalized yet, but we do have pieces set aside for other things besides houses. Building setback lines.
That's what the inside boxes are on the plot.
Okay. All right.
So
we do have those.
Yeah.
Streets and right-of-ways and adjoining or subdivisions by name, width, approximate gradient, type, width of pavement, including curbs, sidewalks, crosswalks, trees, and other relevant information. So we have the roads. Are those roads named already?
Yeah, I don't remember if you gave me your name.
No, you had mentioned we make sure we have it for the final after tonight.
Yeah, we talked about it, but they have not given me road names.
All right. So we don't meet G. Location, width, and purpose of the easements we have. Location, approximate size, and capacity of utilities do. I do have some letters from utilities I'd like to read into the record at this time since we're on I. First off, this is from Hickam Lorenz, letter of intent to serve. And this is from CSC Properties, Workforce Housing LLC. Dear Mr. Walker, the town of Spencer acknowledges your request that the following development known as Texas Pike subdivision located in section 20, township 10, range 3, containing 62.095 acres and bearing parcel number 60102020.310.000-027 be connected to the town of Spencer's wastewater treatment system. It is understood that the town of Spencer will provide the water waste treatment system for the above described project by providing an appropriate lift station and force main to the property as set forth in the attached Exhibit A. The wastewater treatment extension will be for the purposes of providing wastewater treatment sufficient to serve approximately 94 residential home sites. There's actually 96, but it said approximate. This service is contingent upon the adequate financing from currently pending application to SRF and other resources necessary to fund the project. From BPP Water Corporation to Ron Walker, CFC Properties. BPP Water Corporation has the capacity to serve the Texas Pike property located just northeast of Texas Pike and south and State Road 46 intersection. BPP Water Corporation has a 6-inch line on State Road 46 that can be tapped to extend a 6-inch water main north on Texas Pike to serve the new proposed 95 home subdivision. BPP Water Corporation does not develop property. It is the property owner's responsibility to install the water mains per required specifications. BPP Water Corporation has the responsibility to inspect the installation process. BPP Water Corporation looks forward to working with CFC Properties on this much-needed housing project for Owen County and the town of Spencer. Sincerely, Todd Gardner, and he has signed that. And Exhibit A, I have it here, and Suzanne can put it up after we work through this, after we work through the rest of the list.
So we have electric.
I do not see anything from, is it Duke?
I didn't get anything from Duke.
Do we have
Oh,
anything?
Duke won't serve it, it will be SCI, they've agreed, I could supply a letter if you
Yeah,
like.
we'll need that to put with the rest of the utilities.
Okay. They have agreed to serve it, matter of fact, we've already engaged with them on
We'll,
some meters, so I'll get that to you.
we'll need a hard copy just for the records. Contours and vertical intervals of 5 feet, we have legend or notes, we have other features significantly affecting the subdivision. Scale, north point, and date. Phases, if any, in which the subdivision will be constructed. I didn't see them. I'm assuming you're going to build them in sequence. Drainage plan prepared and certified by a registered professional engineer pursuant to Indiana law. We have that. And I think I saw 3 retention ponds. We are putting a fence around all those, correct? Those can't stay open, that's part of our ordinance. You might, if you didn't already have that, make a note of that. Location, owner, zoning, and use of adjacent properties, including location, size, and use of all buildings within 50 feet of the lot line. There really isn't anything, is it? 50 feet of the lot line? A house or a structure?
Not that
There's nothing wrong.
I'll have to look at that.
A description of the protective covenant and private restrictions, and I've seen that and read it, so we have that. It's going down. A list of all owners with addresses of adjacent properties, and do we need that or we have it?
We have that.
We have that, right? Okay. Street cuts onto county and state roads, we have the cuts onto the county roads. Source of title shown by the most recent entry into the books of the county recorder, we have that. Floodplain boundaries, if applicable, indicating the classification of each floodplain area, we have that. The location, size, elevation, capacity, and other appropriate descriptions of all existing or proposed permanent or significant features, either natural or man-made, including but not limited to trees, water courses, falls, beaches, historic places, rock formations, streets, sewers, drains, water bodies, swamps, or other wetlands, railroads, transmission towers, existing structures, county ditches, legal drains, water mains, culverts, utility lines, fire hydrants, drainage structures, and water elevation, including approximate high water and low water elevations of adjoining lakes, rivers, and streams at the date of the survey by reference to the USGS datum plan. The approximate size and capacity of utilities may be presented in a note on the plat. So there's another option for you as far as utilities. There is no sewer. So we have two things we need, right? We have the electric.
As far as the street names, and council can object if I'm correct, but if you have on a parcel clearly identified streets, and you as a group have no problem identifying them, for the purpose of preliminary hearing, those can be identified as street A, B, C, D, and E, with the understanding that they're formal names. So if there's no objection to that, and you're satisfied, that would not be considered a material defect difference between a preliminary and a final, just like for identification, we call them A, B, C, and D tonight.
Well, and they are on here and identified properly, not as with names, but the structures themselves. So we have.
So that would just be the electric company's letter.
Okay.
Based on what I'm seeing.
Right. And we've met all the requirements from the we've met all the requirements for the notifications.
Right.
We've already done that.
If you're wanting to proceed, there's nothing that would hold.
All right.
Because you have utilities, you have what you would call a substantial compliance with the utilities. You would not want to grant a final without the letter, but if you're having people come and certify, and so they have contact, that you know, so if you want to proceed. Now, again, that's, when I'm using the term macro, you have all those. Now, there would be the more specific, if there's any deviation in any of these categories to the actual requirements.
Okay, so I do have a couple of things that are going to be deviations or going to be outside of the realm of our ordinance. The first one will be the size of the lots. The ordinance says 1 acre lots. These are a third of an acre, just so everyone's on the same page. The other thing that we're going to have is the 200-foot frontage. We're not going to get there because the lots aren't 200 feet wide. So that's another deviation. I believe, if I read everything correctly, that's the only two we have.
I believe.
That's all you had? So you got, okay. So with those.
I think we need to understand that under the county ordinances, which was written
I believe 2003.
2003. Thank you. We didn't think about properties having sewer systems, but we have to do septic. So now with the advent of sewers outside the city limits of Spencer, that changes things in our records.
Right. Without the need for sewers, then the need for the size of the lot obviously goes down, certainly. With that being said, I think I'd like to open it up now for public comment. If you guys are
Public
looking.
or us first?
Huh?
Public or us first?
Well, we can start here and then we'll go to public.
Okay. I was curious, Susan, can you pull the lock back up, please? What's the big area there along the back, which is a grassy knoll, I think? Yeah, Susan's pointing. I'm pointing to it, but it don't do good. She's pointing.
Over here.
I keep reaching for a mouse. What's the plans for that?
right now, we're leaving it as undeveloped. When we originally began looking at this property, we didn't have the bottom right corner in our plans. The seller was gonna keep that corner. Through our discussions, that changed and we acquired it. But when we looked at it, we thought, it's not as easy to put the type of housing and lot size there that we're putting west of that. I think it's an ephemeral street, I can't recall. And because of some of the natural features of the property. So at the moment, we're just leaving it as green space. Long term, I'm not sure, but we don't have any plan.
And then the other thing, does this include what us old timers call Joe Green's junkyard? Is that part of that bottom part there? Or?
I believe the junkyard is south of our property.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I didn't know whether that was included in that district or not.
Is that in here?
Joe
So it's
Green's
probably not really even on the picture.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
below.
right off of 46.
Yes,
Yeah.
this piece here.
Yes.
So
That's
our
the-
boundary's north of that.
Commission, anything else?
Oh, I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done, okay.
I mean, you are aware there's a very large lake just to your north, and I didn't see any mention of it, but I think under the preliminary things, it's supposed to mention bodies of water that are near there, correct? And I don't know.
Existing lake,
Pardon
is
me?
that the existing lake,
Yes,
6 acres,
That has changed.
straight north?
that is recently changed on this. That used to be 9 years ago, so they claim it could be 6 now, because it's selling in. I don't know the depth of it, but I'm surmising it's pretty deep. Actually, if you bring anything more than 20 feet, you need to bring the Army Corps of Engineers. A lot of lakes were built without that.
Well, don't we have something from the DNR on that?
About 135 feet.
Yeah, it's what
Can you,
Ketchum said.
can you scroll it up?
DNR is going to, put it in the registry of their dam registry. And it could, they have to do their preliminary, but it could be possibly considered a high hazard dam.
Are you guys aware of that?
Yes, if I can address that, we have provided a large swale on our property, along our north property line. That would convey that water coming off that northern property to the west, to Texas Pike, as well as the eastern third of the property, and take it down to the south through our property. We've also elevated those lots to help protect against dam failure. I haven't done a dam break analysis on someone else's property because I don't have permission to get on the property, but,
Years ago, we had Three Brook Lake, I remember going to the thing at DNR had said, we didn't know there were that many houses downstream, and I'm thinking, do you not have Google Maps? I mean,
No, they don't.
So that's something you guys may wanna, well, you do wanna pursue it, just to make sure. That'd be one thing that would be a potential risk for you and anyone that would buy in.
Looks like a drainage.
we're trying to provide safety precautions to
Right.
protect against it. But without doing a dam break analysis, there's no assurance that we are high enough.
the problem I can see is if it would give away, those people probably are not eligible for flood insurance, and if there was an insurance claim, it would come under flood and they'd be SOL. That's,
Would they end up in a floodplain?
they use the rule of a 50-year flood, and that's outside the 50-year flood line. But it's strange, they won't pay if you have flood damage, but you can't opt to buy flood insurance unless you're in a flood area.
Floodplain, yeah.
This is a concern for your owners.
Anything else?
I'm done with questions, I don't know where you want comments, but,
We'll take comments from the public and then we'll get us at the end of that. Anybody got anything else? I did have a question or two. The first one is, has there been any talk, and I know this wouldn't be your property, but a crosswalk over 46, like they have down in Evansville going over the Lloyd, to get your employees from one side to the other? Have you had any communication with the Department of Transportation or Indiana Department of Transportation about potentially doing something like that as a walkway? And the reason I asked it, if we have high school kids there and they are gonna walk to school, that would be a really good way to get them from one side to the other without putting them in harm's way. So you might put that on your radar, please. I didn't take a picture of it, but we were down there and I seen that, and I thought, boy, right there's the way to get them to the other side. Because I've seen them cross the road there at Casey's while the buses are letting out, and it's scary. So, and then Texas Pike. Greg, how wide is Texas Pike?
Starts out up the highway at about 22 feet, narrows down to 16.
That's the other side of the bridge, right?
Yes.
And we've got two roads dumping out onto it. One on the 22-foot section and then one on the 16-foot section.
So if you're asking my opinion, I don't mind chiming in. We worked with Commonwealth on another project in Owen County where they assisted in working on a road project when it starts this summer. I don't know if these folks are interested in that or not, but I also listened that the town may annex or is going to annex. Maybe we all need to work together with the county because that stretch of road could be widened at least out to 18 feet. I think it would help down through there.
Okay.
I don't want that, to slow their project down, but you're asking in regard to the transportation system, so.
Right.
And we're not talking about a great length of road.
No.
I think it's about 1,028 feet or so down through there, but that would assist if we did that.
Yes.
If I may?
Yes, sir.
For John Stanton, Town Council. We also, and Mr. Walker and our council members developed a lot of discussion on the east side of this property.
Yes.
Pine Apartments is straight south of there. And we've approached them about possibly putting in an access road around the apartments as a access onto Hillside rather than out Texas Pike.
That's a good idea.
So, that would alleviate a lot of issue there at that stop sign and the width of the road.
So let me be very candid. How far down the road are you on that discussion?
We've talked to the owners and they're discussing it. So, I mean, this is something that, we're hopeful by the time that if this here goes through, that they're in maybe their 20th or 30th house, we can open this up.
And it looks like we've already got a leg there. Are you talking about coming off where it kind of juts out right there?
Up just a little bit, go up the property line, the purple property line, just a little bit further.
Up here?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Across there?
You're gonna go around Pine Apartments on the east side of the building.
Okay.
And right up the.
Go right up there.
Then you would attach to the road that they use to get out to Hillside?
Yes.
Okay.
With the improvements there at Hillside 46, that would make a better intersection to get out on the road. Traffic splits, then
Right.
you've got to solve the problem there.
That's what we're hoping to accomplish there.
So, John, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to.
Okay.
What does annexation look like on this?
Still is a definite thing.
Okay.
And
How much money are we
it's
investing?
contingent to the town property.
Ready to do that one.
We're gonna have sewer there, we're gonna have broadband there, we're gonna annex it in.
So Gary, I'll go around and make everybody mad. The county is putting in, are we putting in anything into the infrastructure on this property?
On this particular project, we've not committed anything. We've committed money to infrastructure. We've requested, Marcy's not brought anything to us in a plan yet, what that money's gonna be used for. But we have committed $250,000 to sewer and water.
Not specific to this property.
Not specific to that property, that's correct. And we have also, in one of the town council meetings that I came to, volunteered the annexation from the county to the town. We're not gonna fight the issue, it belongs to Spencer as far as the county is concerned, and Bob, the commissioner there, I think he agrees with that as well.
Okay.
Gary, would we recapture any monies that we spent on widening that road going north?
We would have to discuss that before anything was done with the town.
I mean, we got big investments going in, but no return on the tax side of things.
The county can't afford any investment with no return.
No.
I mean, I'll make that very clear to everyone in this
I can
argument.
tell you this, and this is directly from Anton, county council.
Yeah.
Approximately 29 cents out of every tax dollar that comes off that property in the future will go to the county in some fashion. So even after we annex it. So.
Okay.
How would that be done, some fashion?
That's your part, 29 cents is your part out of every tax dollar. So, we don't get the majority of it, the school gets that, sorry.
Really?
And
That's not counting local income tax either, correct?
No, that has nothing to do with local
We
income
get these
tax or
people that
anything
are
else.
working out of county to be here, we're gonna get their income tax. So right now, we're collecting and sending off to another county.
So, Mr. Klein, since you're here, do you have any concern on the impact of the population at our buildings with this development going in here?
At this time, no, knowing the decline in the enrollment that we've seen the previous 5 years. We've had a decrease of almost 500 students over the previous 5 years to be arriving. The fact that we've stabilized, and just doing a quick calculation in my mind, we have ample classroom space at all of our secondary and elementary buildings that would serve these potential students or future students and their families. And with ongoing bond projects that we are doing to improve our buildings and maintain our buildings, right now, don't have any concern. I'm kind of intrigued by the Hillside 46 intersection that you're talking about, so.
Do you see any significant impact, and I'm just asking for the public, with busing? I mean, you're probably not gonna go into that development. I would assume they will meet you out at Texas Pike, but I don't know that. That'd be probably a decision for another day.
That's a question down the road, because you're well aware that we're reworking and geoplotting all of our transportation right now. So we are looking at the efficiency of all of our bus routes, and I can't really answer that.
Because fair enough.
Looking at the number of buses we're running and the number of kids that are on buses right now. Once we get that plotted, and we'll really see how efficient we are and whether or not we're running too many buses or running the right number of buses, to kind of move forward, so.
Okay. Yes, Gary?
Question, talking about 94, 95 new homes here, and Bill made the comment about new income tax for the county. So what you're saying is none of the existing employees that work at that plant that live in Owen County are gonna own these homes, is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say anything like that.
But that's the assumption that I think people have here. And that's what I'm trying, and don't get me wrong, Ron, I'm all for the project, you know that.
It's a good question.
So we're not gonna have increased income tax if these folks already live in Owen County, but they're just going into a new home.
True, yeah.
In the end, I think you'll have a mix.
Yeah.
I just wanna make it clear, I think the assumption that we're gonna have 95 new residents moving into Owen County and creating new income tax.
Well, I don't,
That's not the case.
yeah, I don't think we could make that assumption at all.
Well, may I ask a question?
Sure.
You'll be able to answer this. How many how many counties do you draw from for employees?
Oh, it was a long, long list.
62.
I know it's 11.
Yeah, is it okay?
So if you've got 11 counties and a couple of them are like 45, 50 miles away, those people are gonna come here.
Between Boston and you, it's 17 county draw. And if you want something interesting, drive through their parking lot and look at their license plates. And it's eye-opening.
And I've done that as well.
You still get partial income tax from people that
Right,
can,
sure.
kind of that work here.
I did have one other thing, gentlemen, then I'll open it up to public comment. There's a lot of information out there about this project and all the projects. Not all of it's accurate. So, not to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. If I understood correctly, when you first came before us, you said that these properties would be offered to Cook employees first, correct? But
Can't do that.
if those weren't bought by the Cook employees, then they would be open up to the general public, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just because I think that's another misconception that a lot of folks have, it's like workforce housing, in other words, here's your script, pay me my payment, you get to live in your house. That's not what this is at all, I don't believe.
Because on that note, I'm concerned about the restrictions that says in the first year, if you buy a home and you want to sell it, you buy it back. Year, if I'm misstating this, year 2 through 5, you have a first right of refusal. That looks to me like you're trying to create a company now.
Well, what we wanted to do, and I think it's in the first 3 years, and then I think up to year, might be 5 after that. We wanted the ability to buy them back within 3 years because we don't want people flipping homes. We want to make sure it serves the purpose of home ownership and equity building for working people. The reason we're doing it with 8 years is really, we don't know what the market's gonna do, but we have written in that we have a right of first refusal. And I work with those periodically, and that means you wanna sell it. We're just given the option to buy it. And that way, if there's still a huge demand, we can do the same thing we're doing now. And that is remarket it maybe to a Cook employee. But I think I'd have to look again, we might give ourselves 7 days if we don't act. Is that what it is? Okay. Then that person can just sell the home on the market. And we want people to benefit. I think I was looking, people move on average, you might know this after a certain number of years, typically. We want people to build wealth. This is the only way most working people in our country can build any wealth, just through the equity in their homes. So we want that to happen. But we also want to make sure it continues to serve that need of accessible housing for working people in this region. That's why we wrote that.
And I do like the owner occupied aspect of your covenant because that takes the rental property out of the picture. I like that. I think that's a good thing. I have some concerns like Bill does about the first right of refusal. The short time frame is probably really good.
But even in a market like we're in right now, where houses are on the market less than a week.
Yeah.
If I've got a buyer, as a real estate agent, I've got a buyer, and he makes an offer on a house, and let's say I wrote it tonight, well, we got until Friday to give us an answer, you accept it, but it'll be conditionally accepted upon 7 days. In the meantime, their second choice of a house is out there, and they're waiting on you to make a decision, and they lose it. In this tight market, I mean, it isn't gonna last forever. I've done this 43 years, there's cycles, and believe me, this cycle's gonna end. But that's a concern. But
All right, before it gets much later, let's get to some public comment. So if you would like to speak on this, let's just start over here and work our way across. Anyone? Mrs. Kaufman, you've hung out with us all night. Would you like to speak?
All right, I'll go first. I'm Julie Coffin. Full disclosure, I am a Texas Pike resident. I'm about a quarter of a mile north of the property in question. I'm also the president of Spencer Main Street Incorporated, which is a nonprofit that, an all-volunteer group of people here in Spencer who are working to revitalize downtown Spencer. So to be clear, the mission area of Spencer Main Street is the 9-block area immediately around this courthouse square. But because I am in that role in my personal life, I'm always thinking about how to bring people to downtown Spencer, to Spencer in general, how to make it nice for people to visit here, how to make it nice for people to live and stay here. So take all of those thoughts to my own neighborhood, where I drive past this every day. I walk my dog along that straight stretch of Texas Pike almost every day. And so I am hoping for not just a cookie cutter, putty colored subdivision. I'm hoping you have a strong tree plan so that this looks like a lovely neighborhood that people would want to live in, instead of, oh, look, it's a little town, and oh, look, yeah, it's a subdivision just like every other little town. So I'm hoping for some aesthetical qualities that make people think, oh, what a nice place, because that's our entry point. They're going to see the high school, they're going to see the gas station and car lot, they're going to see the lovely Cook offices, and they're going to see your subdivision. And we want them to feel so good driving into our town.
Let me respond. Everything I've seen from Cook, they really do an excellent job. I've worked with a lot of organizations from NBC to RCA, from Bloomington to Paris, France. I started work at Cook in February, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the way they care about their employees, the effort that they go through to develop them. And I have a high degree of confidence that what they're gonna do there is gonna be a good thing. And I hope it will be for you guys.
Thank you. So just to finish up, by way of welcoming you to the neighborhood, I would like to point out that there's a community cleanup happening next week, the 25th. And as a dog walker on that stretch, you've got some work to do. I'll be working that week as much as I can, but I'm only one person. I have engaged some of my neighbors. I don't know if they'll show up or not. So just consider the gauntlet thrown down, so.
What are the dates?
The 25th through the 29th, and your local organizers will be picking up.
Maybe we'll get a newspaper over this.
Julie, maybe me and Lori can take the north end of Texas Pike, the gravelled end of it. We'll take that if you'll write us down.
It's all yours.
Yeah, we'll take, well, that's out our way.
I'll take the first 3/4 of my own, you have the rest.
Okay, anybody else for a public comment on the property? Yes, sir, Mr. Oldroyd.
Mike Seagull, Spencer resident. Prior active involvement in Spencer Main Street and the revitalization that Julie mentioned a minute ago. Nisi and I have been active, roll up your sleeves kind of folks trying to help turn the town around and be part of this community. And the decision to roll up the sleeves was done only around the notion of the community that's here. And it's a unique place to call home and be part of a nonprofit that Julie just described, and more importantly, all of the different businesses and individuals and organizations organizations that have been around here for 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 years. And it's really for those folks, those long-term Spencer folks who have seen the highlight in Spencer's historical record, to be part of bringing it back to life and seeing all of those little things that can be done to make this a better place to live and work and play. And to echo the comment that was just made, to know that Cook is going to have a strong hand in managing and caring for this part of the live, work and play of Spencer. And they were active several years ago in getting the Tivoli off the ground for the benefit of everybody in Owen County who's ever been into that facility. They weren't asked to do that. They rolled up their own sleeves and decided that they wanted to make this community a better community for all of us. They didn't have any expectation from the town or the county. And as they come here now, several years later, realizing this workforce housing issue that Ron articulated earlier, it's clear that we have an opportunity as a community to pick up the ball and help in any way we can move this momentum, move this ball down the field, and make this an even better place to live for these people that choose to live here and those that follow because of this development. In the same way, the businesses that followed after Tivoli opened up around the square, and everybody knows everything that's changed around the square since then. Now I have the potential privilege to be part of, a builder in this program, whatever it is. I still don't know what it's going to be, but I'm not afraid of that. In the same way that I wasn't afraid of renovating a 150-year-old building around the courthouse square, because I knew that there was going to be some good that was going to come to it, and had a lot of faith in the people around me to make that happen. And I've got that same faith in the group that's in front of you today, trying to figure out how to turn this into a reality. So, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Tom. Go.
Let's see where it started.
Tom Abram, right?
Yes, well, let's start with that. So this is kind of a cat out of the bag moment. Our corporation is now the owners of what used to be the Compton Revocable Trust. I'm one of the principal owners. My wife is the principal owner. So we're the ones to the north with the lake. To answer a question that came up, I've already, prior to us purchasing it, I had a lengthy discussion with DNR, and it's classified as a low risk and has always been a low risk. So to answer kind of that question, it's been there 50 years, so.
Tom, can I interrupt? So you're telling me that it's been designated as low risk?
Yeah, it's on the list. I'm glad it said what on the list, because it's on the list, because he knew exactly, where I told him it was, and he knew exactly where it was.
Just so I'm clear, I had heard it was gonna be high risk, that's why I'm asking. Okay.
And, so aside from that, we haven't, been notified of anything. And, it's gonna be a little long-winded, so sorry it's late. But first of all, the Wallaces were gonna be here if they had a family emergency. They're our neighbor. And, so they didn't want me to mention that. But, my purpose is number one, we're not against progress. We're not against increasing the tax base. We're not against affordable housing. So I want to put that out there right away. But we also are going to share a very large common border. And to your, what you said earlier, Mr. President, is I'm here as trying to be a good neighbor and hopefully develop this relationship that no matter what we do, they do, we do, ultimately we're going to impact each other. That may be nothing, but there's always that potential. And I want to start off as, you know, we're on good foot, we know who we're talking to. I wanna know who I'm talking to. As a person who's gonna be representing the corporation in these matters. So I want the person to talk to, not the 12th person to talk to. Because they're gonna talk to the people on the other side. So most times I introduce myself, lay that out there, and hopefully we can have a long, good relationship. I came here to answer some of my questions, because I've heard every rumor in the world, I guarantee you, over the last few months. And I've been through enough that I know where to put those rumors, And so my main goal tonight was to get some of those rumors answered, or dispel those rumors. But also to introduce myself that I'm gonna be the one you're talking to. And I want to face the guy or gal that I'm talking to. Because those issues there's gonna be something. I don't care what it is, it's gonna be something. I've owned too much property and been too much things, and I know this happened. Hopefully not, but we all need to know who the players are. And I'm playing a little catch up, because this was just within the last month that this transaction occurred. That's why it's not correct on your plat, because probably when you drew that up, it didn't have this on there yet. So before I go this evening, I would like to name some members of your primaries, and I'll be glad to give you mine, so that we're on the same page. And, there's gonna be questions, and, that is Cook property. We do this whenever the corporation decided to purchase this. So that was all factored in. We're, kind of excited, sort of like, let's pursue all this. I mean, I've lived here almost all my life, one way or the other in this county. And I've seen the progress, and my wife and I are excited to see the progress. So we aren't here to stop progress. So I really want to reiterate that. But also I want to say, remember, there are some people that have lived in an area a long, long time. And, just be respectful, I'm not saying you haven't been, but, go the extra mile to be respectful to those people. Yeah, you can do what you want or what meets this board allows, but we all have to live together. We want to be good neighbors. We all want to end up in the same place and make us a better place and a better community. I don't have any really specific questions, but this is a good opportunity to announcing the new player at the table. And, I know most of you people right there, keep going around. And, know they're good people, they're gonna try to do the best they can, and I appreciate that. And my entourage couldn't make it tonight, she's somewhere else. Please make contact with me before we leave tonight. So we're on, got our contacts, because as I look over this, I've had a chance to look at it. Suzanne was nice enough to send it to me, which I appreciate. I'm like this. I gotta be on the computer and blow it up some. I'm gonna have, questions about that. About how maybe, one thing I think of is, I kept hearing they're starting in the south end. Well, you kind of are, but we're gonna go and fix this pipe.
Maybe I had this discussion.
Yeah. But anyway, that was my main purpose tonight, all right?
Yeah.
And I'll be back for the next one.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Thank you.
So, yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Jerry Hayes, Senior Vice President of Orange County State Bank, and I just want to come and voice our support for the project. I have all kinds of reasons, good positive things to say about it, but most people have already said those positive things, so, I'll just sit down and shut up, but we are very much in support. I've been involved in workforce housing issues for probably 2 or 3 years, trying to get something like this going, so I'm really happy that Cook is taking that initiative and doing that, so we're very much in support of it.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir. Either one.
Okay.
Go ahead, Marcy.
I was
Go
going to very quickly answer the 2 of the concerns or questions that you had mentioned. One about the crosswalk over 46. I want to let you know that Mark Rogers and Kyle Hannon with MyPath are already working on solutions to the new neighborhood community plan that the town has, to go ahead and look at some solutions for people to be able to safely cross 46 there as well. And then also in reference to the lot size, just want to let you know that again, in the Economic Development Strategy Plan that was passed in 2020, it has verbiage that states that it's possible to go ahead and use an acre and divide it into a third of an acre for those homes to be set on, in fact, even smaller. And that verbiage is also going to be included in some of the new ordinances and policies of the comprehensive plan. Now, to take that hat off and put on my citizen hat, I live on Shepherd Patrick, which is a little further down Texas Pike, and to say that I'm excited about this project is a tremendous understatement. To see what this is going to be able to do for my community where I have grown up in, the way that it's going to throttle it forward for its future just absolutely is wonderful, and I'm just so glad to see this investment from Cook go into my community.
Thank you.
I'm Roland Young, I'm a resident here in Spencer, I've been here 18 years, I'm also a Cook employee, I don't work with these guys, but I do work at Cook in Bloomington, and I'm excited to see it. I'm on the hiring side oftentimes as an engineer at Cook, and we struggle bringing people into our locations because we don't have available housing. At any given time, around 50% of our people don't work in the county where our facilities are. So we've got people all over the place. I have people who work for me that commute from the far side of Indianapolis to Bloomington because of lack of housing. So anytime we can bring in housing, it's a great advantage to us as a company, but also to our community as we grow our restaurants and our small businesses. And we're starting to grow again. We have 2 new places opening up on the west side and behind the hardware. Downtown's got restaurants. Things are starting to get from this dead little town of 18 years ago when I came here to becoming a lot more exciting, a lot more offerings for us. It's not just a challenge for Cook. My family and I help other people that are moving to town. We are helping people that work for Boston try to find housing to come in here and cannot find any housing at all. And if this does anything, it may move people out of our rental property or out of local rental properties into housing and free up rental properties in town as well for residents. So again, I'm strongly in favor of this. I'm excited to see it happen.
Arnold, you got anything else? Okay. Good. Yes, sir.
Would you please, the next time you do something like this, please do not do a press release saying, we're doing this, before you come to us. I mean, whenever I read that, I'm thinking, how presumptuous are you guys doing it? And if we would take a vote to say, no, you're embarrassed, we're embarrassed, and I just wish you'd done a press release after something was done. And just, with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the preliminary plan.
We'll have to make the modifications.
We got a couple preliminary edits, that's it. So,
Okay.
Plan Commission, you're operating now under 36-7-4702, specifically C. This is the waiver area. So in the Owen County ordinance under chapter 12, I believe both of these standards, double check if I'm wrong, this is the time to speak up as loud as possible. The 12-32 of the Owen County Zoning and Subdivision Control Ordinance says, A, all lots within a subdivision shall have a minimum size of 1 acre and shall have a minimum frontage of 200 feet. I believe those are the 2 waivers.
Yes, sir.
You would want to then take a vote first just on that area, that whether you want to grant that waiver or deny it, and then we can go from there.
I'll withdraw
I'll need you to withdraw.
my motion.
Yes.
And I will move that we grant a waiver for the 1 acre requirement and 200-foot frontage requirement.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor, seconded by Bob Curry.
Have any discussion on it?
Yes, go ahead.
With the understanding that we're going to connect with the city with the sewer.
Right. Right, yeah, there will be no
That should be
septic.
a stipulation
Well,
that
and
we're doing that. I
John
know
Reed,
that's
John Reed would not approve a
No.
septic on that
Well,
spot.
I know he wouldn't, but that's why I'm saying.
we have the letter that we read in, Mike, that said that the sewer is gonna be attached, so
That's already.
we're good there. All right, so, does everybody got the motion, or do I need to repeat it?
Could you repeat it?
Repeat it, okay,
No.
so the motion on the floor and properly seconded is that we will grant what'd you call it, not a variance?
You're granting a
A waiver.
on section 12.32, specifically, the subdivision will have a minimum size of 1 acre, it shall have a minimal frontage of 200 feet.
Okay.
This is the request of a waiver.
That's our motion. We're gonna either grant or not grant this waiver on those two pieces. All right. Vote by show of hands. All in favor? 7-0.
So planning commission, do you want to establish any new standard in that area? You do not have to, but do you not?
Not at this time.
Not at this time, no.
So if I may ask Cooks, did you have any other waivers that you wanted to present to the planning commission?
Yeah, there is a setback, we believe there is a setback waiver that would also be included. I have prepared proposed findings that I'd be happy to share with you, Mr. Bryan, that would.
Is this with a 25 foot or the 75 foot?
What we have proposed and shown on the plat is a 45-foot front yard setback, a 35-foot rear yard setback, and 10-foot side yard setbacks, which is consistent with this suburban,
That's what.
Okay, if you would just hold that thought, just so we'll start here. So under Owen County ordinance, the standard size, we're still in 1232. But 1232C is the setback ordinance. So 1232CI, a setback from the road right of way must be of at least 75 feet. That's I. II is a setback from the side lot of at least 25 feet. And then III is setback from the rear lot of 25 feet. So 75, 25, and 25. So sir, what were those variances?
What we're proposing is a 45-foot front yard setback,
Okay,
a 35-foot rear yard, which exceeds your 25.
so that would not be a waiver then. Okay.
And then a 10-foot side yard setbacks.
Okay, so planning commission, there's a request by the Cooks for an additional waiver. It's still under 1232. They are asking that it be waived. You would have that authority. Normally, would be a design variance from the BZA. So if anyone asks me, well, wait a minute, I own one property, why do I come here? That's a design variance because it's one individual. This is a preliminary plat approval of a subdivision specifically requesting variances from Title 12. That is authorized by Indiana Code 36-74702, just so everyone's a distinction. So you now have at least a request, you do not have a motion or a second, but you have a request of these two additional waivers from I, from 75 feet from the right of the roadway, and from III, the rear lot of 25 feet, if that's correct.
Side yard.
Side yard, okay, it's I and II. Those are the two, so it's up to you.
It's still under 1232.
It is still under 1232C, I, and II.
So you've heard the request. So
What's the utilities, I mean, versus the front, how's that gonna affect utilities?
The utilities will be in the front of the lots, and we have a 45-foot front yard setback.
Right, I mean, currently we require 75, I remember years ago, it used to be 25, I'm not sure what is that going to affect?
The utilities will have to be
utilities?
within the right of way, won't it?
Right, I understand that, will that give them adequate space, I guess, what I'm asking.
And all the utilities will be underground, correct?
Yes.
I believe I read that. Okay, so we need a motion to, do we need a motion for that?
You would need a motion and a second.
And a second.
Either to approve or disapprove.
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver for 45, from 75 to 45 on the front, and from 25 to 10 foot on the side.
Okay.
How about the back?
We have a second. So Mike Swafford made a motion, seconded by Bob Curry. All in favor of granting that request, a show of hands? 7-0? Okay.
Then, if you have any other requests for any other waivers, no other requests, then after granting those, you would now move into a motion whether to approve or disapprove the actual preliminary plot. Now, we're gonna move to another code, just 1 second. We're now going into 36-7-4709, and this is the second, just read the wrong one, but I knew I was gonna do that. This is 36-7-4707. I apologize for that. 36-7-4707. You're now making a decision of the plot. This requires a written findings of fact and a written findings of fact on the waiver. It's my understanding that Cook has prepared that for your approval. If you want to sign that, that would satisfy the statute, and it would require the signature of the president of the plan commission.
Okay. Do you have that, sir?
I do, and I'm gonna apologize to you, because with these waivers, it's got my handwriting for those last 3 points, but I just covered those generally. Given that your record now has both of those 3 waivers.
You are aware that we just make a recommendation and the commissioners actually make the decision.
Say again, please.
No,
Not on this.
This is not a zoning request.
Okay.
This is
That's all done, Bill.
That's all
your
done.
jurisdiction, and you have sole exclusive control of this hearing tonight.
All right, so the final step here is we need a motion to accept the final plat.
I just got one question. They decided to run this road down out the backside. Is there anything that we need to do before this?
Jim, does that affect, go ahead.
I have provided 2 possible road connections on the preliminary plat that shows up in the southeast corner of the platted lots, and then one on the northeast area of the platted lots. Kind of see the blue line there in the southeast, and that's a crossing, and then there's another one to the north of that page you're looking at.
They both go into the green area.
So that's your connection for that road, should it happen?
So we're dedicating right away for those 2 connections.
Do we need any kind of motion out of us for that possibility?
Well, it's on the plat.
Yes.
You would be approving this plat with both of those.
Right.
Now, just make sure it's that, but when you come to the final plat, you're only going to choose one of the 2 options, is that correct?
I think we'll show both.
Show both, okay, then no, there'll be no material effect of any kind.
But if that road is extended, Jim, that's my question. When we get to that point, when they come back for their final plat, if that road has been done and there's a connection there, is that gonna be considered a deviation from the preliminary plat?
Does it deviate? What I'm asking is, deviate in any way, council?
No. Okay. That's a good question.
Yeah, we required Hobbs and Hall both to have letters from utilities, and they don't have one from RMC, so.
Oh, this is preliminary.
This is preliminary, that's
absolutely cannot be passed without that.
So it's kind
Company had some other issues too.
Well, I mean, we required him to get that.
It's totally up to you if you want to approve this, or if you want to table it. It was my understanding on the first, and this is the plan commission's discretion, not mine. There seemed to be more than one material defect, and in my understanding, there were maybe no utilities of any kind. My understanding here might be the difference is all but one utility has been provided. But that is the sole discretion of this plan commission.
I'm just trying to stay consistent.
I hear you. So
I move we approve the preliminary plan.
we have a motion on the floor to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Curry. All right, to approval of the preliminary plat. And we have it in the motion, or in the minutes, that we want that utility letter before the final comes through.
Yeah, I put that in.
Okay. All right, all in favor of that motion, by show of hands?
So long as it's in our minutes, so we just.
Okay, 7-0. Yes, it is, because we read it in about an hour ago. Okay, let me find my agenda now. on the ground. Okay. Number 6, public comments outside of anything we've already talked about. Is there any public comments? Nope.
I know we adjourn.
Yeah, so, well, planning commission comments first, then we can move to adjourn. So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I must have missed something.